Communications. We're going to begin as a subcommittee of the committee to hear testimony on our pretty full agenda today. We're going to be entertaining 16 different measures today, 16 different bills. So I thank the committee members that are here. We still have a lot more that we're waiting for, but we'll establish a quorum when we get a few more members. We're going to begin with Senator Allen. We have an author here present, Senator Allen, SB 888, the Gas Corporation's Emergency Management Bill.
Did you want to make the announcement that 13 and 15 are on consent?
Okay. And before you begin, I just want to inform the members of the public and members of the committee that bills, item number 13, SB 1399 by Senator De Leon, and item number 15, SGR 23 by Senator Bates are both on consent. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning, Senator, and thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. I just want to start by taking the amendments that were offered in the committee analysis, and I just want to also thank the staff for their diligent work on this bill. So SB 888 is part of a bipartisan package of bills introduced in the Senate in response to the massive methane leak at the Aliso Canyon storage facility last year. The leak started, of course, on October 23rd. It lasted for 4 months, and it was the worst in United States history. It spewed over 100,000 metric tons of methane pollution into the air and displaced 6,000 residents in the area. And at its peak, the leak rate doubled that of the next largest point source of methane in the United States, an underground coal mine in Alabama, and it was more than twice the methane emissions of the entire Los Angeles basin. So while the state's response to the leak was swift, it shed some light on the fact that we currently lack a statutory single point of responsibility and accountability to oversee efforts and remediation actions for disasters such as this one. Unlike with an oil spill, which immediately triggers a rapid, comprehensive response under a law that allows California's various agencies to work together to stop a leak and then deal with the cleanup, we have no such comprehensive system in place for a natural gas leak. And we discovered that the hard way in the context of this Aliso Canyon leak. In fact, while Dogger was notified of the leak early, the Air Resources Board says that it wasn't notified of the leak until November 5th, 2 weeks after the start of the leak. So state officials might have had more quickly understood the severity of the leak if emissions had been measured earlier. And to kind of compound the problem, a unified command structure, similar to what is put in place following a significant oil spill, was not established until January, which was over 2 months after the leak began. So this bill seeks to address this by designating the Office of Emergency Services as the lead point of contact for future gas leaks. It will also allow California to take the lessons it learned from this disaster and improve our response going forward. The bill also requires the penalties or fines assessed by the PUC to go into a gas storage facility leak mitigation account to be used to directly mitigate the methane emissions from the leak. Given the scale of this disaster, it's imperative that the emissions be fully mitigated. Pound per pound methane, which is, of course, a short-lived climate pollutant, causes 30 times more global warming over the span of 100 years and 84 times more over a short-term period compared to carbon dioxide. And this one leak is comparable to total emission rates of the entire oil and gas production regions in the country and surpass what is released by all industrial activity here in California. So we just can't let this leak undo all the hard work that we've done to combat climate change here. I'm proud to say that this is a bipartisan bill. We have Republican and Democratic co-authors, and I'm happy to answer any questions people may have.
Very well. Did you have any other testimony associated with your presentation?
We have one. No?
We'll go to public testimony. Anybody speaking in support out there in the public? As you make your way up, I see one person. Do we have anybody in opposition? You can go ahead and make your way up as well.
This is Eddie Moreno on behalf of Sierra Club California in support.
Okay. Very well. Anyone else? Do we have any questions from the committee? Okay, we can't move the bill. We don't have a quorum. We will get to a motion as soon as we do, or if there are no questions, if you want to make any closing comments.
I just appreciate the attention of the committee and respectfully ask for an aye vote. Thank you. Thank you.
Do we have any other authors here? Any?
Thank you. Thank you, Senator.
Senator Hill, do you want to present your bill?
Be happy to. Which one, two? Would you prefer? Is it 812?
Yes.
Very good. Thank you. First, thank you, Mr. Chair and Mehdi and members. I want to accept the two amendments on page 7 of the analysis, and I want to thank your consultants for an outstanding analysis and I think good review of the bill. SB 812 seeks to improve the safety oversight of buses after a runaway tour bus crashed in San Francisco last year, injuring 20 people. The main focus of the bill is on improving the CHP's bus inspection program, and it was approved unanimously by the Senate Transportation Committee. Specifically, SB 812 does the following as it relates to the CHP. It directs them to do more surprise, unannounced inspections. It modifies the inspection program so that it is risk-based. This means that bus operators that do not meet certain performance criteria will get inspected more often. The goal is for the CHP to focus more of their efforts and limited resources on problematic and unsafe bus operators. The bill also shortens the fix-it period from 120 days to 30 days for bus operators found to have mechanical problems during an inspection. The bill implements a rule that puts bus carriers out of service if they get 3 consecutive unsatisfactory safety ratings. This is needed because currently bus operators can receive multiple consecutive poor safety ratings and still operate, potentially putting passengers at risk. It also directs the CHP to raise the inspection fee from the current $15 so it covers the cost of the program. The bill caps the fee so no carrier pays more than $6,500 for their entire fleet. As I said in the Senate Transportation Committee, I know this proposed fee increase concerns the bus industry. They have told me that they are open to paying an increased fee, but would prefer that the fee be set in statute. I've told them that I will continue and certainly will work with them, the CHP and our fiscal committees, to see if that is possible. Lastly, most germane to this committee, the bill directs the CPUC to monitor bus and limousine recall notifications and contact affected carriers to ensure they have in place a plan in place to fix the defects. This is important because after the limousine caught fire in 2013 on the San Mateo Bridge, killing 5 women, the company that built the limousine issued a recall notice for the exact problem that led to the fire. The recall went unnoticed by state regulators until a California newspaper discovered it. This revealed a clear problem. The CPUC has no process in place to monitor recalls related to the safety of a bus or limousine. The bill simply makes sure the CPUC knows about safety recalls affecting the carriers it regulates to ensure passenger safety. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members, and appreciate your consideration.
Thank you. Do you want to say some comments?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Matt Robinson on behalf of San Francisco Mayor Ed Lee. Senator Hill mentioned the tragic accident that occurred in San Francisco last November. We very much appreciate his efforts to try and increase the level of safety on buses operating within the city limits and statewide, for that matter. So with that, I'd respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Very well. Do we have anyone else in support? Do we have anybody speaking in opposition? Very well. Do we have any questions from the committee? 4, 5 members. Did you want to make closing
Just
comments?
respectfully ask for an aye vote at the appropriate time. Thank
Very
you,
well.
Mr. Chair. I'd like to now move to SB 1049. Mr. Chair and members, the staff analysis states that the bill would benefit from definitions of terms like root cause analysis, and I'd be happy to work with the committee to do so. I think that we, the public, have a certain expectation of our public utilities, an expectation that when there is a death or serious injury that involves gas or electrical infrastructure, our utilities will conduct an investigation for the purpose of preventing such an accident from happening again. We pay millions of dollars for their insurance premiums to give them hundreds of millions of dollars in coverage, knowing that there is some liability risk. Often we even pay their deductibles. For this money that we provide, we do not expect that our utilities will run their investigations through their law departments to hide this information from their regulator, the PUC. For this money that we provide, we do not expect that our utilities will guard the results of those investigations, even from their own operations personnel, the people in charge of preventing the accidents, the people at greatest risk from accidents, in order to preserve privilege and limit opportunity for plaintiff depositions. And I'm happy to report that this isn't a problem with most of our utilities. In fact, it appears to be only an issue with one utility. This utility and I will be having some discussions about this expectation in the next couple of weeks, hopefully at a high level. SB 1049 would clarify the requirement that root cause analysis of major reportable gas and electric accidents be provided to the PUC upon request. Most utilities already do this. An organization with a positive safety culture learns from accidents and widely disseminates information regarding them to its personnel to prevent them from happening again. That's not being done today. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I respectfully ask for an aye vote at the appropriate time.
Thank you. Anyone here to speak in support of the bill? Do we have any opposition?
Thank you, Senator Wiss, members of the committee. Push this on. Thank you, Senator and members of the committee. Hal Dassinger for the Civil Justice Association of California. We oppose SB 1049 because we feel that it weakens the attorney-client privilege, which is fulfilling an important role in our civil justice system and deserves protection. The current Section 316 recognizes the importance of the attorney-client privilege, and the subsection B5 indicates this by requiring the production of any documents not subject to attorney-client privilege. And we feel that the bill, as recently amended, sort of writes around that protection in the new sections B5 through 8, specifically requiring a number of items and documents, but appearing to be separate from the requirement that those documents be produced unless subject to attorney-client privilege. We're also concerned that by establishing a special treatment for this regulated entity with this regulator, that this could move beyond the regulatory environment to the broader civil justice system. For those reasons, we oppose the bill. Respectfully ask for your no vote.
Mr. Chair, members, Cindy Howe, Southern California Edison. We applaud Senator Hill's focus on safety, and safety is Southern California Edison's first priority. We're in the process of setting up conversations at a high level with Senator Hill to address his concerns related to safety. We apologize for not having an opposed letter, and we are currently heavily engaged at the CPUC related to a situation, and this very issue is being discussed, and this bill appears to impact that ongoing CPUC proceeding, which is continuing to evolve. To the extent this bill is intended to focus on safety, of course, we want to work on and will commit to working on solutions with Senator Hill. Instead, the bill, it does appear intended to change the fundamental tenet of our legal system related to attorney-client privilege, and we are concerned with that policy. We are concerned with that precedent. Again, we look forward to working with Senator Hill moving forward. Thank you very much.
Anyone else speak in opposition? Any questions or comments from the committee? Okay, very well.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And if I could respond a little bit to some of the comments, I think CJAC's, who I have a great deal of respect for, and certainly don't want to establish any precedent anywhere that would encourage more legal action. But I think the slippery slope, which I think is the argument they were making, it doesn't apply here, certainly. If others are worried about precedent, we can clarify how different in California gas and electric corporations are in the findings and declarations. They are different than anything else. We can write that Section 3, Article 12 of the California Constitution specifically calls out gas and electrical corporations as public utilities subject to the control of the legislature. We can also state that the Public Utilities Code, Section 701, is clear that the PUC may, quote, do all things necessary and convenient to the supervision and regulation of public utilities. We could also reiterate in Section 451, which states that every public utility shall furnish and maintain such adequate, efficient, just, and reasonable service, instrumentalities, equipment, and facilities as are necessary to promote the safety, health, comfort, and convenience of its patrons. We could write how the PUC has given gas and electric public utilities exclusive franchises without sunset or renewal. And then we could go on and how these are different entities than any other companies or anything else in California. We could also cite certain decisions in which costs about the PG&E's pipeline system and costs associated with San Onofre shutdown were passed on to ratepayers. I'm not sure with this background we could reasonably see providing the PUC with root cause analysis to be, anything precedential. Nonetheless, I've shared all amendments with CJAC, and we are in continuing discussions, and I'm committed to accommodate their concerns to the extent that we maintain the expectation that our utilities are safe. And now, from Edison's point of view, there's only one utility, members, that views this as privileged information. And during the PUC's safety en banc held in September of last year, the utility presidents were asked, these were all the utility presidents were asked about safety in their organizations. This particular utility that is opposed to this legislation was asked why it had more than twice the number of reportable safety incidents in 2014 than the next highest utility. And the utility president stated, while we have made some good progress in the past few years as evidenced by our improvement in some key safety performance metrics, the fact remains that just too many of our people are still getting hurt, and that is unacceptable. He stated, though, that we are hard at work on changing our safety culture as part of our journey to injury-free. So it's interesting that they are attempting and stating that they are looking for injury-free, but they're not willing at this point to allow their operational staff to learn what occurs when there is an accident that provides opportunity to prevent future accidents because of attorney-client privilege that they are claiming. Members, I respectfully ask for an aye vote at the appropriate time. Thank you.
Thank you. So that was a closing comment. We have a quorum now. Clerk, could you please call the roll, please?
Hueso?
Present.
Hueso here. Morel? Here. Morel here. Canela? Here. Canela here. Gaines? Here. Gaines here. Hertzberg? Here. Hertzberg here. Hill?
Here.
Hill here. Lara? Leyva? Leyva here. McGuire? Pavley? Wolk?
Very well. Okay.
No, it's not too late.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Senator Hill, thank you very much. I am going to support your bill today, but it's going to be conditional as you work with CJAC as well as Edison to try to clear up some of the issues that they have. So when it gets to the floor, I hope it's okay. But just a caveat, I'm with you today, but on the floor I might have to switch if things...
I appreciate that, Senator. Thank you, and we will continue to work with them. I think we can come to some way of making it fit nicely, so thank you.
Senator Gaines?
I'm just still trying to figure out why there was opposition. Did anything change in the bill, or any amendments taken, or any of that?
No,
of that nature, or
nothing is changed in terms of why there is opposition. There's still the sentiment that this is a slippery slope, that by requiring the release of information or root cause analysis that's required in every other industry that we see. I mean, healthcare, if a hospital, there's a death in a hospital, you do a root cause analysis, that be made available to the PUC, that then can either release it to the public or not based on their determination of confidentiality. Mm-hmm. So the idea is to allow the utilities, to require the utilities, if they know the cause of an accident, do a root cause analysis, give it to the PUC so that it can be used beneficially with their own personnel operational personnel within that utility and other utilities to prevent that same accident from occurring in the future. CJAC seems to think that this is a slope that, if you're going to break this confidential, current attorney-client privileged information, but they're using attorney-client, in my opinion, to hide around the release of the information, to prevent them from disclosing this information that they're fearful of, that would be used by plaintiffs' attorneys at some point in time, that could cost them more money in a settlement or in a civil proceeding. And doesn't cost them the money in most cases anyway, because we're paying for their liability insurance. So it's the ratepayers that are paying for their insurance. And in many cases, it's the ratepayers that are paying the deductible of their insurance. So there's no cost to them, and that's where the opposition. But I'm hoping that we can come to an agreement on this, and that's the goal.
Okay.
Truly, that's really the goal.
That's great. I appreciate it. I think I'm similar to Senator Morell, and if you could work with them, and let's see if we can get it resolved by the time it gets to the Senate floor. I'll support it this morning.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate it.
And, this committee retains the right to call these bills back should there be any changes that we disagree with, and I like to involve the members in the committee of that, so as we hear, if you see anything in the future, I'll work with you. But for today, I agree this is an important matter, and I applaud your work in this area. And
Thank you, Senator.
And in light of it being your birthday.
It was yesterday.
Well,
it's yesterday. We're turning it into a week, and I love it.
We should be celebrating the month.
It's a week. We're celebrating the whole month.
All month. If we can have a motion on this, we have a motion on SB 1049. Clerk, please call the roll.
Due pass to appropriations. Hueso.
Aye.
Hueso, I. Morel.
Aye.
Morel, I. Canela.
Aye.
Canela, I. Gaines. Gaines, I. Hertzberg. Hertzberg, I. Hill.
Aye.
Hill, I. Lara. Leyva. Leyva, I. McGuire. Pavley. Wolk. It has 7 votes.
Okay, we'll hold the roll open for the absent members, and while we're here, we'll entertain a motion on SB 812, also by Senator Hill. That bill he presented in subcommittee. We can have a motion on SB 812. We have a motion. Clerk, please call the roll.
Due pass as amended to appropriations. Hueso.
Aye.
Hueso, I. Morel.
Aye.
Morel, I. Canela.
Aye.
Canela, I. Gaines.
Aye.
Gaines, I. Hertzberg.
Aye.
Hertzberg, I. Hill.
Aye.
Hill, I. Lara. Leyva. Leyva, I. McGuire. Pavley. Wolk. 0 on call. Hasn't left.
Okay, we'll leave that bill on call for the absent members. And also, if we can entertain a motion for SB 888 by Senator Allen, emergency management. We have a motion. Clerk, please call the roll.
Due pass as amended to appropriations. Hueso.
Aye.
Hueso, I. Morel.
No.
Morel, no. Canela.
Aye.
Canela, I. Gaines. Hertzberg.
Aye.
Hertzberg, I. Hill.
Aye.
Hill, I. Lara. Leyva. McGuire. Pavley. Wolk. Oh. Change your vote.
2 of them abstain. Can you go from no to abstain? Okay.
Yes.
Gaines is a no.
Gaines, no. Current vote 4-2. It needs 2 more votes.
4-2, we need 2 more votes. We'll hold that bill the roll open for absent members. Can I get a motion on the consent calendar? We have SB 1393 by De Leon and SJR 23 by Senator Bates. We have a motion. Clerk, please call the roll.
SB 1393, De Leon, and SJR 23, Bates. Hueso.
Aye.
Hueso, I. Morel.
Aye.
Morel, I. Canela.
Aye.
Canela, I. Gaines.
Aye.
Gaines, I. Hertzberg.
Aye.
Hertzberg, I. Hill.
Aye.
Hill, I. Lara. Leyva. McGuire. Pavley. Wolk. Has 6. We'll leave it on call.
I saw Levine was in the crowd. Did he leave? Senator, Assemblymember Levine, is he here? Okay, we'll move on to members of the committee. And Senator Canela, did you want to present?
Sure, thank you.
You're next in line. We'll begin with SB 1112, your bill on water and sewer systems corporations transactions.
I'm here to present 1112. I'd like to start by stating that I will accept the committee's suggested amendments. SB 1112 is a simple bill that resolves a serious problem. Scattered across California are dozens of small water utilities that sometimes serve as few as 10 customers. If they are privately owned and operated for profit, they are regulated by the PUC. These are often mom-and-pop operations and are located in the Central Valley largely. The operators of these systems generally have a fairly limited knowledge of how to interact with the PUC. As these operators grow old and pass away, they transfer ownership of their water systems to new operators. What many of them don't know, however, is that the PUC must grant prior approval to any asset sale, otherwise that sale is void. Because they don't understand what their legal obligations are, these utilities have been sold multiple times before the PUC is even informed, leading to legal nightmares since the PUC is required to nullify the original contract and the subsequent sale, sometimes years after the fact. SB 1112 would simply make small asset sales that are not given prior approval by the PUC voidable instead of void. In other words, if the PUC learns about an accidental sale, they would have the discretion to either nullify or retroactively approve it if deemed in the interest of the ratepayers. This bill has no known opposition. Its provisions are limited only to private for-profit systems regulated by the PUC, and it will have no impact whatsoever on municipal water systems. I've got a witness in support.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. Nick Sanjani with the Public Utilities Commission. We're sponsoring this bill because the problem that's been articulated by Senator Cannella is only going to grow larger and larger if left unaddressed and no statutory tweaks made to address it. We have several utilities under our jurisdiction. About 98% of our service connections are the large 9 Class A utilities, but the vast majority of the utilities that we regulate, just in terms of number, are actually the small Class C, Class Ds. That's where you're seeing these problems. Those are the people that don't have the lobbyists able to represent them at the PUC. They don't have regular rate cases. They're not very sophisticated, and so they require a little bit of extra assistance to figure out how they comply with their legal obligations. It's very disruptive for them to sell. Unbeknownst to them, they have these obligations, and then they find that down the road, sometimes 5-10 years down the road, their sale is void. That we have to go back and find the original owner, who technically is still in possession of the utilities. It's disruptive to service connections, the customers of those utilities. It's a legal nightmare. It's very disruptive to our docket, and therefore we think this is a simple, reasonable fix that addresses the situation, and we'd ask for your support. Thank you so much.
Pam Loomis on behalf of the California Water Association, which represents the water utilities regulated by the Public Utilities Commission, in support.
Very well. Do we have anybody speaking in opposition? Any questions from the committee? We have a motion. Did you want to make any closing comments?
Just respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Very well. Clerk, please call the roll.
Do pass as amended to appropriations. Wesso?
Aye.
Wesso, aye. Morel?
Aye.
Morel, aye. Cannella?
Aye.
Cannella, aye. Gaines?
Aye.
Gaines, aye. Hertzberg?
Aye.
Hertzberg, aye. Hill?
Aye.
Hill, aye. Laura? Leyva? Leyva, aye. McGuire? Pavley? Wolk?
That bill has enough votes to get out. We'll hold the roll open for absent members. Did you want to present your next bill?
Sure,
Senator
thank you very
Cannella?
much.
SB 1112.
22.
I think it's 1122.
1122,
Yeah, I've been
sorry.
confusing those all morning too, so. We got some witnesses coming up. I'll start as they're walking. SB 1122 would codify the PUC's average time for resolving small telephone company rate increases, 13 to 14 months. This bill would also establish reasonable repercussions for PUC delay beyond that time without compromising its ability to protect ratepayer interest or eliminating its discretion to take as long as it deems necessary. Finally, SB 1122 would codify decades of PUC precedent consistently permitting rate of return utilities recovery of their rate case expenses. Processing rate cases is a core function of the PUC and should be routine work. If the PUC fails to process a telephone company's rate case in a timely fashion, there is no mechanism by which the company can compel the PUC to act. Although the PUC has processed general rate cases in a timely manner on most applications historically, one GRC stands out and remains unresolved to this date. Kerman Telephone filed their general rate case in December of 2011. It's been almost 5 years since they filed their application, and to date, it remains unresolved, although on March 29th, they issued an offer. Add the years since their last GRC, and it has been 9 years since their funding has been adjusted in any way. A small telephone company cannot provide its community with quality services when there is uncertainty about their future funding. They're unable to make capital investments and have no ability to raise rates, obtaining financing, or recover costs without action from the PUC. The PUC may argue that Kerman is an anomaly, but the fact that it has happened to one means it can happen again. There is no credible reason why a small utility should have to wait years for their rate case to be processed, let alone for a decision to be issued by the PUC. I ask for your support of this bill that simply asks the PUC to do what is already required to do of them to provide due process to the utilities they regulate in a timely fashion. I have with me today Rhonda Armstrong from Kerman Telephone, Yolanda Benson with Calcom, and Pam Loomis. Is Pam? Yeah, so you're up here now. With the Independent Telephone Company. So turn it over to my witnesses.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members. I'm Yolanda Benson, representing the California Communications Association, Calcom. We are the sponsors of SB 1122. I want to thank Senator Canella for authoring and carrying this important piece of legislation. Calcom is comprised of small telephone companies located throughout rural, mostly remote areas of California. They provide telecommunications and access to high-speed internet to rural communities. We are fully rate regulated by the PUC. That means that a company can't change anything, can't design a new plan, can't make investments without action from the PUC through a general rate case. Rate setting is a core function of the Public Utilities Commission. Without a timely decision on these general rate cases, these small telephone companies are crippled. You will hear from one telephone company today, Kerman Telephone, who will share what happens when a general rate case is not done in a timely fashion. The 13 to 14-month deadline in the bill is the same deadline that the PUC recently adopted in a rulemaking last year pursuant to the instructions from Governor Brown's veto message of AB 1693, carried then by Assemblyman Perea. This bill ensures that there is a hammer, a true deadline that really means a deadline, not just another extension or inaction from the PUC. This bill codifies what has been and should be normal practices of the PUC, because the PUC has typically been able to complete these general rate cases in a timely fashion. However, the fact that even just one company has had to wait 5 years and 9 years since their last adjustment really creates uncertainty. This is the strong reason for the bill. Inaction and not providing due process should never happen to any regulated company. Today, Rhonda Armstrong will be testifying on behalf of Kerman. Thank you. We ask for your support of this bill.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Rhonda Armstrong. I'm currently chairman of the Calcom Association, but I'm also the vice president of Kerman Telephone Company. And I just want to take a second to share our story with you so you can understand the real world implications of what the senator and Ms. Benson have described to you. We have been 9 years without a change in our rate structure. Our current rate case has been going on for 5 years. In the course of those 5 years, I'm running the company. I can tell you that we have had delay after delay after delay, and there is absolutely nothing that we can do about it. Operationally, I've lost about 20% of my employees, either through attrition, and I've not had confidence to rehire when people leave, or through layoffs, and we've had to do some of that as well. Our investment in the community, and we are a broadband provider as well, has decreased dramatically because of the uncertainty. It's difficult for us to take on debt. We make capital investments with loans, and I have no level of confidence that we'll be able to service future debt. So our investment has decreased dramatically as well. Lenders look at us as risky because we don't have consistent revenue stream. Kerman's a small company. We can't just absorb these inflationary increases for over the last 9 years. We can't keep up with the growing demand with broadband without making investment. We can't keep our technology current without making investment. We can't make investment when we have revenue uncertainty. Although SB 1122 is not going to help our current situation, it certainly will help our fellow small companies who will be going through the same process. It's important for there to be timeliness in these processes, and I urge your support of SB 1122.
Pam Loomis on behalf of California's independent telecommunications companies, and I want to align myself with the previous testimony and also address that SB 1122 also codifies decades of commission practice of allowing companies to recover their rate case expenses. And again, in Kerman's case, staff is proposing 100% denial of their rate case expenses. And that's after years of delay have actually increased significantly their rate case expenses. And we think that the precedent that would set if the commission ends up adopting what staff seems to be proposing is that it would have a significant chilling effect on the company's abilities to present their case in the most critical case that they have before the commission, which is their general rate cases.
Okay. I just want to interrupt you for a second,
Sure.
just to see a show of hands in the audience. Is there anyone here to speak in opposition? Is anyone in opposition of this bill? Do we have any comments or questions from members? I'm going to ask that maybe we'll have questions so you have an opportunity to get some more specific information that the committee is interested in, beginning with Senator Hertzberg, and we have, who else? Senator Morrell.
And Gaines.
Are you interested in asking questions? Okay.
It's just a quick observation, not so much a question. It just to have a dose of reality here. 9 years ago, the iPhone didn't exist, okay? But to even talk about fast pace, Moore's law says that we are in, from a technology standpoint, every 18 months. When you look at the studies, we're doing it even faster. The notion, this PUC is the Railroad Commission. It's yesterday. I'm carrying some bills for them, but like, guys, you mentioned this stuff about 13 months and 12 months. For the folks that work there, it might be fast. But for how the world is changing, and particularly in the area of telephone technology, it's yes. I mean, I support this bill, and I'm happy to move it, Mr. Chairman. But I just want to make the larger context that, please, we can't even accept that. Our notion that 13 months is fast is ridiculous. Companies come and go like that. The world's changing. We've got to modernize our approach to how we see government and what our role is and how quickly we have to move.
Okay, great. Thank you. Senator Morrell?
Senator Cannella, or anybody else on the dais, is it a possibility that rates could be shifted from here and there, and we have our ratepayers in some areas will have an increase to their rates?
This is just for one telephone company, so we're going to shift all the rates to the ratepayers that are actually using the service. So it's not going to be shifted to anybody else.
Okay.
No. Unless your folks would like to cover part of it, we'd be happy to shift it over there.
I can't believe you can't get approval after 5 years. It's outrageous. I concur with the comments that Bob had made that, you know, we ought to be held accountable, and I support the legislation, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and I think that's an important part of the regulatory process, that people have some ability to complete an application process within a practical amount of time. So, good bill. Thank you, Senator. And we have a motion by Senator Hertzberg. Oh, we have no opposition. We do have, I'm asking for a motion with the amendment. You mentioned the amendments, that you're accepting the amendments.
No,
No?
I did not. On the first bill, the suggested amendments. I prefer not to accept the amendments on this one. I think they're contrary to what we're trying to achieve here, so.
I'm sorry here. Let's talk about that.
Okay.
We have a suggested amendment, and where is it? Sorry, here we go.
Just the first one, defining rate, which computer rate expenses. And then we work with the computers.
So one amendment requires the CPUC to make a final decision in a general rate case of a small independent telephone company no later than 380 days. Following the company's filing and the deadline, if the deadline is missed, provides that the utilities' proposed rates will take effect on an interim basis subject to an accounting true-up if the decision is issued within 420 days of the filing. Now, that particular amendment you're not interested in?
I think that's what we want.
The amendments, I'm sorry, jeez.
So one of them is rate case expenses. It leaves at the discretion of the PUC, which they just rejected all of the rate case expenses. So I don't think there's good precedent with that. So we would prefer to say, look, these are the charges for the rate case process. That's what the telephone company would like to recoup. So
And just to be clear, the way the bill is drafted, it says a company can recover its reasonable rate case expenses, so that still leaves the commission its full discretion to determine what's reasonable. And in talking to various regulatory practitioners before the commission, usually ORA argues for fewer expenses to be recovered or a lower amount. The company argues for its full expenses, and the ALJ usually picks a number in between. But what's going on?
We're just talking about some definitions here, and maybe
Right.
that can be cleared up in a preamble talking about intent.
We can definitely put more definition within the bill itself, so it's clear what is
it'll
meant.
need it for the.
We'll happy to work with you
For the benefit of your clients, I think it'll need it.
Okay.
So,
Great.
we'll be glad to work with you on that. So we'll move it without amendments, but with your commitment that we'll work on the definition. I think it'll make it a better bill. We have a motion. Clerk, please call the roll.
Do pass to appropriations. Wessel?
Aye.
Wessel, I. Morel?
Aye.
Morel, I. Canella?
Aye.
Canella, I. Gaines?
Aye.
Gaines, I. Hertzberg?
Aye.
Hertzberg, I. Hill? Lara? Leva? Leva, I. McGuire? Pavley? Wolk? Pavley, I. Wolk? Wolk, I.
Okay, the bill has enough to get out. We'll hold it open for absent members.